All right, let's pull back the curtain on something that honestly feels a little bit like digital magic. How your regular everyday dollars somehow turn into the stablecoin USDT. It seems instantaneous, right? But what's really going on is a fascinating, complex machine working just out of sight. You've done it yourself, right? You're on an exchange, you click buy, and poof, the dollar amount in your bank account goes down, and suddenly this crypto balance shows up. It feels totally seamless. But that smoothness hides this incredible journey that has to bridge two completely different financial worlds. So, what is actually happening inside that black box?
Now, a lot of people think something like this. It's a pretty common assumption. The exchange just takes your dollar and, in one quick technical step, it mints a new USDT token for you right there on the blockchain. But that idea, well, it's just completely wrong. The reality is actually way more interesting, and it involves a whole cast of characters.
Yeah, this is not a one-man show. Turning fiat money into crypto isn't a simple swap. It's more like a carefully choreographed dance between several totally separate, legally required companies. So think less like a simple vending machine and way more like a complex assembly line. Okay, first up, you've got the company you actually see and interact with, the exchange. This is your storefront, right? The website or the app where you place your trade. They run the platform, and here's the key part. They hold custody of your crypto. Now, to do this legally, they have to be licensed as something called a money services business, or MSB, or in other parts of the world, a virtual asset service provider, a VASP. Now, here is a super important detail. The exchange you're using, it almost certainly does not hold your actual dollars. That money goes to a completely separate company, a licensed fiat custodian. This is basically a bank-like institution, and its entire job is to hold real-world money in traditional bank accounts, legally separated from all the crypto stuff. And finally, we have the most exclusive player in this whole game, Tether Limited. They are the mint. They are basically the central bank of USDT. They are the only ones on the entire planet who can create new USDT tokens. And here's the real kicker. You, me, and even most exchanges, we never ever talk to them directly. They only deal with a very small, select group of huge approved institutions. So now that we've met the players, let's actually follow the money. We're going to trace the exact path your dollar takes, a path that happens entirely off-chain, by the way, before it ever shows up as USDT in your wallet. Okay, the whole thing really breaks down into four main steps. First, you deposit your fiat cash using old-school banking like a wire transfer. This, of course, triggers all the standard identity checks, KYC, know your customer, and all the anti-money laundering stuff. Then, step 2. The exchange simply updates its own private internal database to show that you have a dollar balance. Did you catch that? So far, absolutely nothing has happened on any blockchain. This is all just traditional finance. So this brings us to the most important part. Step 3. How does the exchange get the USDT to give to you? Your dollar doesn't magically create it. Instead, what happens most of the time, we're talking path A here, is the exchange takes its own money and just goes out and buys existing USDT on the open market from another exchange, just like any other trader. It's only the really huge, authorized players that can use path B, wiring millions directly to Tether to get brand new USDT minted just for them. So you might be thinking, why? Why all these steps and all these different companies? Why can't someone just build a piece of open source code to do all this? Well, the answer is pretty simple. This whole complicated, centralized process, it isn't a choice. It is a legal requirement. It's dictated by the rules of the game in the traditional financial world. And let me be perfectly clear about this. When you are moving money from a government-issued currency into the crypto world, there is no decentralized exception. There's no trustless, code-only pathway that is legally compliant. It just can't exist. And this table really shows you exactly why. I mean, think about it. Banks are legally required to know who owns an account. They can't just plug into some anonymous smart contract. Regulations demand that you verify a person's identity, that's KYC, and that you're always monitoring for money laundering. And finally, for a stablecoin to actually stay stable, the issuer, in this case Tether, has to have total control over the supply. A piece of code just can't do any of these things. Okay, so if we put all of this together, we get to the single most important idea to really understand about this whole process. It's about seeing the true nature of the connection between the old world of fiat and the new world of crypto. It's not really a conversion. It's more like crossing a bridge. This right here is the key takeaway. Turning your dollar into USDT is not a blockchain operation. Not at all. It is a regulated, off-chain financial transaction run by licensed companies that only ends with a digital asset being delivered to you on the blockchain. The actual swap happens entirely in the old world. So you really have two completely separate domains, each playing by its own set of rules. You've got governments and traditional banking laws on one side. They regulate everything about identity, the movement of fiat money, and who gets permission to issue a stablecoin. The blockchain's job only starts after all of that is finished. It just handles the custody of the final crypto asset, the transfer of it, and the final irreversible settlement. And that really leaves us with a huge, fascinating question to think about, doesn't it? We talk so much about decentralization in crypto, but the on-ramps and off-ramps, these critical bridges that connect crypto to our everyday financial lives, they are, by legal necessity, centralized. They're guarded by the very same systems crypto was supposed to be an alternative to. And, figuring out that paradox, that is key to understanding where the future of all this is really headed.